Hey, welcome to Sapphire Ridge News. Give me a few seconds to get a few things set up here, and we'll get into this. QR code. So, how are you all doing today? Move this over. Make the chat box bigger so I can read it. There we go. Oh, it will be good. Um, so, there are calls for, well, let me start with this. Um, Joe Biden could not possibly have had prostate cancer metastasized to the bone and just now found it. That's impossible because prostate cancer to metastasize to the bone takes 5 to 7 years. And prostate cancer shows up in a simple blood test called a PSA test, which every male over 45 is supposed to have done once a year. And so his doctor, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, is going to be in a world of hot water because for the past 4 years, Dr. O'Connor has said that Joe Biden is in perfect health. Perfect health. Finding this on Friday makes all of those statements impossible because, like I said, prostate cancer takes 5 to 7 years to metastasize to the bone. Well, they they put out a letter by this Dr. O'Connor every year saying that he um, examined him and that he was in perfect health. One little bullshit paragraph. A president is supposed to undergo a rigorous exam once a year. Yeah, Laura said he was very sick a year ago. And I back up what she said. I watched the interview that he did about a year ago with what's her name? Wallace. Nicole Wallace. I can't stand her, so I try not to think about her. She's another supposed Republican. Jeez. But in the middle of the interview, he suddenly gets up and says, I have to go, and wanders off stage. And as he's wandering off stage, you can hear him basically messing his pants. As he was walking by her, you hear, but it wasn't a pleasant kind of rip, if you know what I mean. Because she immediately put her head down, like, oh, geez, what do I do now? You know? I've never liked Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace was the supposed Republican handler that was assigned to Sarah Palin, that basically deep sixed her political career. Told her lie after lie after lie. And Sarah was a journalism major, told her that the interview that she had set up was a trap, and Nicole Wallace told her, well, I don't know how they do things in rural Alaska, but this is nationwide politics. We don't do things like that here. Sarah Palin got her journalism degree from the University of Idaho. You're welcome. It's just, you know, this whole thing makes you really wonder about the White House doctors in general. See, President Trump, when he was first elected, he didn't bring his personal private physician with him. He allowed the White House doctor to examine him. Yeah, this is definitely elder abuse by Joe Biden. It's my opinion that Joe Biden should be investigated and arrested. That's just my opinion. Because there's no way that he should have ever been president and been this sick, or that he should ever been told he should run for president again being this sick. This just irritates me to no end. These people that say, oh, you know, they cover up is the right word. The fact that somebody's sick. Don't cover up when someone's sick. Tell people the person is sick, you know, he he needs some space. Don't sit there and say, well, you know, everything's fine, blah, 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 when everything is not fine and shit is falling apart at the seams. You know what I mean? No, this is what I wanted. Yep, Laura is telling the truth. Joe Biden's newly formed former presidential office released it yesterday. Well, actually, they supposedly, yesterday. Yesterday, no, Friday. See, here's what I think was going on. Okay, you have Jake Tapper's book coming out, or came out this week. You had her audio tape that's devastating for Joe Biden, for his mental acuity. And I think they released this because they wanted to shift the focus away from all this negative stuff to, oh, Joe's sick, feel sorry for him. What a bunch of BS. Yeah, it was very alarming. You know, what was most alarming for me on it was that Joe Biden could not tell him the year that his son died. This is his son that he was so proud of and everything. You would know, you would not forget the year that your son died that you're really proud of. Come on. And the fact that he didn't know when he took office as president, thought he became president in 2019. What the hell? That was just so bad, that you couldn't tell him what year you stopped being vice president and then what year you started being president. He was all screwed up with that. The election was in 2020 and he thought he became president in 2019. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah, Her has held his ground well. Another person that's held his ground well is Ed Martin. Ed Martin is now the pardon attorney for the Department of Justice. And he said that because of the Her tape, that he is going to review every pardon that Joe Biden gave. Yeah. That's another thing, that Diddy thing. I don't even want to get into that today. There's a lot to cover on that, right? We covered it last week. Yeah. Patel is finding stuff. I thought the um, interview that Patel and Bongino did with Maria Bartiromo, I thought parts of it was good and parts of it were really bad. And one of the parts that was bad was Maria asked a direct question about something, and instead of giving her an answer, Dan Bongino, which I respect a lot, said, "We've only been here 2.5 months." And then he started talking about what does get to their desk and what doesn't get to their desk. He said the only stuff that's a level 10 in the queue gets to his desk. He said level 9 is still really bad, but someone else is handling it besides me. I think that, we should all watch that interview because Maria Bartiromo, she does a good job at interviewing people. And she asks tough questions, but they're fair questions. And someone is, well, let me put it this way. One of the questions Maria asked was about Epstein's supposed suicide. And Bongino said, I've seen the file. He hung himself. And it's like, no, you saw what they wanted you to see because Jesse Waters' friend was the person at the morgue that went to collect Epstein's body and said when he got there that there was 8 other people in the cell moving things around, and he said I'm supposed to be the only one there because I'm supposed to collect his body. And he said there were already people there moving things around. And so I thought, you're both lying on that. And for Bongino to say that there's no proof that another government was involved, that's another lie. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was Mossad. Jeffrey Epstein was collecting information from world leaders and passing it to her dad. That's a fact. I like Dan a lot, but let me put it this way, he's being fed false information and he doesn't know that it's false information because the other information has been scrubbed. Does that make sense? Right. And something else that Benny brought out on, I think it was Saturday, either Friday or Saturday, that there were boxes and boxes of videotapes and hard drives that were on the floor in Epstein's home. They had a drone taking pictures of what was being collected. This box was already sitting on the floor and had evidence written across it. It was Epstein's handwriting. What was in that box that he thought was evidence? Yeah, yep, that's true. He overdosed. Too many lies. What happened to integrity? Integrity was lost under James Comey. Because James Comey went to Donald Trump's office the first day he was elected, the first time, with the intent of trapping him. He testified to that. Well, he didn't testify. He said that in an interview. He said, I went there knowing that this is a new administration, someone who's never been in politics before, and there would be chaos, and I could create order out of the chaos. It's like, what the hell is this moron talking about? Creating order out of chaos. Yeah, Devin Nunes saved the day. I can't get over the corruption that has spread far and wide. You know, here's something else that Cash talked about in the interview Saturday. He said that in order for a agent to get assigned as the head of the field office, they had to come to DC, all expenses paid, plus a bonus, and spend 18 months in DC finding out how things are done. And he said, that's done. He said, let cops be cops. He said he's sending 1,500 agents that are assigned to DC out into the field in the next 2 weeks. And he's shutting down the Hoover building because he said the Hoover building is unsafe. He said, I cannot further jeopardize my employees and have them come to a building that's been deemed unsafe to occupy. And so he said that he found another building in Huntsville, Alabama, that is part of um, the armory at Huntsville, Alabama, that the FBI bought this building and then has never used it. So he said that's going to be our new headquarters. I thought, yep, let them try that nonsense in Huntsville, Alabama, right? Am I right? Yeah, that nonsense about the Canadian border is BS. Right. You're right, Julianne. He's moving them out around the country to high crime areas where they can help solve crimes, do what they're supposed to do, right? Yep, they do. So much for us to talk about, right? You know, um, Kelly Loeffler, head of the Small Business Association, she said the first day she showed up at the office was 80% vacant. She checked every computer terminal and a majority of them had not been logged into in over 2 years. No, border agents are assigned to police the border unless they're called in to help with other items. It's not like they're a police officer assigned to the border patrol. They are the border patrol. Really, I don't trust NASA. I trust Elon, SpaceX. You have to remember that Elon talked about landing, recapturing the sections of a rocket 15 years ago, and they told him it could never be done. Um, so they will still be needed because even though the wall is being built, there are sections where the wall will have to be patrolled. Well, not sections. The wall will still have to be patrolled, and they're talking about new border entries. You know, not border entries, ports of authority, where you come across the border because the wall is going to be so long. They're going to put in new ports of authority so that there can be ways for people to get back and forth. Yeah, I think it's disgraceful the way that Biden took the. See, they had all the pieces for the border wall made, and the contract was signed for it to be put up. Joe Biden canceled the contract and had the pieces set in the desert. That's true. San Diego to Tijuana is very busy, isn't it? See, if they put up this wall, they don't need concertina wire because the wall is black. In 115-degree heat, you would not be able to touch that black wall. Yeah, I know they put it up near that border. They put it up all across Texas, and Joe Biden sent in the the FBI and the marshals to cut it down. said it was inhumane. People. What's inhumane is allowing 10 to 20 million people to cross our border without vetting them at all. The problem with NAFTA is that it allowed companies to move their factories overseas, and we quit making stuff here. We assemble stuff here. You know what I mean? Right, Julianne. They're registered to vote and more. And Trump's, oh, excuse me, um, secretaries are saying we're putting a stop to this. Right. Yeah, they walked the median in the middle between the north and the south lanes, right? Oh, the beeps. I stopped the dishwasher and it's telling me to come and restart it. It goes, it's like a reminder thing to tell you to push the button to restart it, but I don't want to restart it until we're done. Because I drove a truck in the 80s. No, you wouldn't have seen them get pulled over. Yeah, it's. I told Julianne the other day the dishwasher didn't used to be noisy like that, but now it's really noisy. Yep. And another thing that I saw last summer, I saw, well, I saw on TV last summer signs 25 miles north of the Texas border saying, caution, the border is near. The hell? Yeah, they were in a hurry. They were walking. Most of the time, they were walking. But in the middle of the desert, 20 miles north of the border, put a huge sign saying, the border is near, but it's facing the wrong way. It's facing to the north instead of to the south. Figure that one out, right? Figure that one out. Say the border is near, but the sign is facing to the north, 20 miles north of the American border with Mexico. Right, that is true. But this is the Texas border with Mexico, but 20 to 25 miles north of the Mexico border in the US, facing to the north, not facing to the south, facing to the north, saying the border is near. The, the sign should have been facing south, is what I'm saying, but it was facing north. It was facing the wrong way. Yeah, there's a button, but if I hit that button, it wipes it out and restarts the clock at 120 something minutes, and it's down. Oh, excuse me. It's down to 30 minutes. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It was almost done. It was 30 minutes till the end. But the crazy thing about this dishwasher, if you hit the button to cancel out the reminder, it resets the clock on the dishwasher and it starts all over from the beginning. Yeah, I need a new microwave. The my microwave is one of them with the round tray in the center that goes around, and under it there's a thing that the tray sits on. It gets all cattywampus. So I think it's time for a new one. That was a used one anyhow. So let's see what we can cover tomorrow, right? All out of whack. It's got a round, like a ring with wheels on it that sits under the tray that goes around. And that thing slides back and forth and all over the place. And I don't think it's supposed to do that, but it does. When it started doing that and making the tray go like this and stuff, it's like, yeah, time for a new microwave, right? Yeah, it's not really a gear, it's just a round, like a ring with a wheel here, a wheel here, and a wheel here, and a wheel here. And it just lets the tray go around in circles. Yeah, it instead of just turning, it goes all over the place, back and forth, side to side. And I know it's not supposed to do that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The gadget under the glass tray. You reposition it and it still goes all over the place. So I decided it's time for a new one. This one was used. I've had it for a year. Who knows how many years it was around before that, you know? Because it's not a new one, it's used. And the person that I got it from said he got it used. So figured use it for a while, and then that while has been a year this month. My buddy that lived across the street moved to Billings, and he didn't want to take anything with him. He sold everything on basically for nothing. I, I paid $1 for a microwave. This chair that I sit in, I got it from him for $10. So they both serve their purpose. Time for new ones, you know. Yeah, I saw that. I was getting ready to watch um, the guy Paralegal Institute of DC. He does a really in-depth, thorough job on that kind of stuff. Oh, excuse me. And he has a new video out today. So we will talk to you tomorrow. Maybe we'll get into some Stacey Abrams nonsense. Let me see what I think we would be able to discuss for quite a while. Yeah, yeah, we need to talk about that because her NGO that got $100 a year suddenly requested $2 billion. Yay, it passed. Now let's see if we can get it through the idiots in the Senate. Passed the House now. Yeah, House Budget Committee last night. And I'm really disillusioned with Johnson. Johnson, we need to talk about this for a second. There has been a motion to impeach Judge Boasberg for quite a while now. Mike Johnson killed it last week, said we will not be impeaching judges. He needs to go because that falls under the direct responsibility of the House of Representatives to impeach judges that are acting out of their good faith, I would call it. That's not the way it's worded in the law, but that's basically what it means. All right, we will get into some Stacey Abrams, and I'll find something else for us to talk about tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.